결국 핵심은 연산 자원과 인프라를 누가 소유하고 또 누가 어떻게 사용할 수 있느냐의 문제인 것 같은데요. 그렇다면 실제로 이런 문제를 해결하겠다고 나선 프로젝트는 어떤 방식으로 AI 인프라의 증강화 문제를 풀고 있을까요? 곤카 AI의 공동 창업자 분들과 화상을 통해서 자세한 이야기 들어보겠습니다. 온라인으로 연결돼 있죠? 네, 두 분에 대해 간단히 자기소개 먼저 부탁드리겠습니다.
We are founders and activists. So we built multiple companies in machine learning field. So what's called right now AI. Sold company to Snapchat, built avatars, but always were passionate about how to make technologies serve all the human on Earth, and believe that right now with the transformation which is happening, it's actually a quite important moment in the history to make the world.
네, 그럼 곤카 AI에 대한 전반적인 소개도 부탁드리고 싶은데요. 곤카를 한 문장으로 정의한다면 이 프로젝트를 어떻게 설명하시겠나요?
Gonka is a decentralized protocol aiming to make AI available for everyone in the world at the cheapest possible price. The decentralized nature of it makes it immutable and accessible and uncontrollable by anyone in the world, controlled by the people who actually use it, and publicly available for everyone to use it.
It is a protocol which allows people around the Earth to build AI infrastructure together and benefit from AI together.
누구나 AI를 빠르고 쉽게 사용할 수 있는 프로토콜이다 설명해 주셨는데 최근 AI 생태계가 확장되면서 컴퓨팅 자원과 클라우드 인프라의 중앙화에 대한 우려도 커지고 있잖아요. 곤카가 이 이슈에 주목하게 된 특별한 계기가 있었을까요?
We were part of early discussion groups around AI safety since 2014. Being engineers, we saw how those technologies can affect the productivity and how they can actually affect the future labor market. And we were part of the discussion groups. And for us, in all the conversation, when bad scenarios were discussed, we constantly saw the same narrative, same pattern, that they all would start from just few companies, one or couple of them, in controlling the access to AI.
So the first time when we realized that it is already crucial to act, not just predict, but act upon the idea that AI need to be decentralized, probably is summer 2023, when we heard rumors the largest corporations in the United States, like Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, XAI, NVIDIA, all gathered together and agreed on how they will build this infrastructure together, withholding the majority of the AI compute for themselves. And as much as was needed to build such infrastructure, to build a narrative on attracting a lot of investment, which now proved to be the right decision, this definitely is going to have quite unpredictable consequences in a sense of monopolization of not only the AI itself, but the labor and access to information.
And also we saw this change when usually the groups which excelled in AI, they usually were quite open. They were sharing with the entire world of what they were building. But then the security concerns would always start to limit the access. If you try to simulate, if you try to predict how the world will develop, if we will keep moving in this direction, keep moving in the direction when just several companies have most of the compute, have most of the power, and they can decide who will have access to these technologies, so that it's crucial to create alternative where there won't be a gatekeeper, the system which will be permissionless and publicly accessible to everyone, so that if development of AI will really accelerate the productivity of every profession, then we should ensure that everyone can benefit from that change.
결국 모든 문제는 이 AI 시장을 소수의 기업들이 독점하는 것에서부터 시작된다라고 말해주셨는데 그렇다면 곤카는 어떤 방식으로 AI 자원의 중앙화 문제를 해결하라고 할까요?
Gonka was originally born through this observation that decentralized technologies in the past proved that it is possible to build enormous infrastructure through these community-made projects. The greatest example of that is Bitcoin. Many look at Bitcoin as a mostly financial tool, like digital scarcity, digital gold, but we saw a quite different quality of this protocol, of the network. We look at it from the prism of infrastructure, which was built over time. $300 billion were invested by various groups around the world in the infrastructure of Bitcoin. It's actually one of the most powerful infrastructure projects ever built. If you look at Bitcoin from this perspective, you will find out that Bitcoin data centers comprise of 23 gigawatts of power. It is actually more than AWS, Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, XAI, Anthropic combined. Isn't it amazing what was built by just without any organization, without any centralization of power? Actually, the larger infrastructure was built through the same time frame. Bitcoin was born 2 years after cloud started to emerge. So when we looked at that, we saw this opportunity that if we will use the same principle, then it is possible to build the real alternative, but actually to build the real infrastructure, which will be comparable in size and then even larger than what is right now being built by centralized organizations.
그렇다면 곤카가 단순한 AI 서비스가 아니라 AI를 위한 레이어 1 블록체인이라는 점이 흥미로운데 기존 블록체인 위에 앱을 올리는 방식이 아니라 AI 연산만을 위한 별도의 레이어 1을 따로 설계하신 이유도 있을까요?
The main purpose of this project for us was to invent a mechanism for a decentralized community, peer-to-peer community all over the world, to basically build a physical infrastructure. The physical infrastructure, which will comprise of hundreds of billions of dollars worth of equipment. And in order for this, a financial incentive is a necessity. Somehow people need to understand that they can make money off building this infrastructure.
Or the leap of faith is needed so that people will invest before the usage will be there. So, and people will need to invest a significant amount of capital. If you will look at some examples of decentralized AI projects who tried it before, who actually were built in the way they just marketplace on top of existing layer ones, they weren't able to actually attract enough of the infrastructure to join the network. Even though Gonka exists only 6 months, we already have more GPUs connected to the network than any of those projects who already out there for years were able to accumulate. And we believe that it's crucial, this tokenomics, that where you connect GPU, you get a newly issued mined coins, and this what create the incentive before the fees of AI developers will play a crucial role. This was a crucial decision, a really important decision for this infrastructure to be built.
곤카는 이 GPU를 가진 참가자들이 컴퓨팅 자원을 제공하고 개발자들은 그 네트워크 위에서 AI 앱을 실행하는 구조다라고 설명 주셨는데 이 생태계 안에서 호스트, 개발자, 그리고 사용자가 각각 어떤 역할을 하고 있는지 조금 더 쉽게 설명해 주실 수 있을까요?
So imagine that you're a user of ChatGPT. So you send the request through the chat. This request is then translated to the really powerful servers which run the models, and then the results you get is the answer in this chat. So the same happens with decentralized network. There are users who want to use the models either directly or through their agents. There are some interfaces which they use, which developed by developers around the world. And then there are powerful servers which provided by the hosts, which essentially like miners in Bitcoin. They have the hardware, they install the software, they install the models, and then they following the protocol, receiving the rewards from the ecosystem.
그럼 앞에서도 이 공카의 토크노믹스에 대해서 살짝 언급을 주셨는데 이 GPU를 연결하면 그에 대한 보상으로 GNK 토큰을 제공한다고 말씀 주셨잖아요. 좀 더 구체적으로 현재 토큰은 어떻게 활용되고 있을까요?
So basically, coins are used to pay for the inference results itself. Any user, any developer can create a wallet, buy coins off the market from the miners or from other users, and then pay for a per API request as if you're paying for Opus or GPT model of OpenAI or Anthropic.
그렇다면 이미 AI와 블록체인을 결합하려는 시도 사실 여러 차례 있어 왔습니다. 그 사이에서 곤카가 차별화하는 포인트는 어떤 것들이 있을지도 궁금한데요.
Gonka is proof of work protocol. All the rest of the projects are proof of stake. What it does that all newly issued coins in other projects, or most of the newly issued coins in other projects, are rewarded to those who provide capital, not those who provide better infrastructure. So incentives are not there. That's why all of these projects, even though they exist for years, they weren't able to accumulate significant infrastructure. Gonka, being 6 months old protocol, already have more GPUs in the network than the biggest projects before Gonka was released.
And the tokenomics similar to the Bitcoin ones will allow this protocol to grow to the size of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of GPUs, because the financial incentive goes towards the host.
다른 프로젝트들은 지붕증명 방식으로 진행이 되고 있기 때문에 참여 동기가 부족하지만 공카는 그렇지 않다라고 설명해 주셨습니다. 이미 GPU를 포함한 AI 인프라를 확보하고 있는 기업들은 그렇다면 공카 같은 블록체인 프로젝트를 그렇게 반기지만은 않을 것 같은데 여기서 또 어떤 리스크가 따른다고 보실까요?
So we can divide companies who already aggregated GPUs on two parts. Those who actually already using it for their own services, like Frontier Labs, providing models of OpenAI, Anthropic, and those who are data centers, neoclouds, who are providing those GPUs to others. They're not using those for their own services. Those who are providing this to others, for them, it's all about profit. For them, it's all about what's more efficient to either rent it to the other companies or to rent it to the miners of Gonka network or to mine themselves and make profit of selling the coins. So the question is whether if the network will grow because more people actually believe that they want to use a Gonka network because of its decentralization, immutability, permissionless, and because of its open source nature, then the network coin will grow in price. And it's going to be more reasonable for owners of the GPUs to connect them to the Gonka network rather than to rent them to someone else. There will be some sort of a competition for the GPUs, but this competition is already happening right now. The shortage of GPUs is visible, and it's not only between the largest frontier models, but also between other companies like Perplexity, Canva, Cursor, and many others who need the compute power for themselves to compete, to sell their services. Gonka, in a sense, is a service. The more users will use Gonka, the more coins they will need to buy, the higher will be the price of the coin, the higher will be the incentive for the GPU owners to provide the GPUs into the network.
그렇다면 앞으로 공카가 계속해서 입증해 보이고 싶은 가치는 어떤 게 있을지도 궁금합니다. 단기적인 비전과 중장기적인 비전을 공유해 주실 수 있을까요?
Gonka is a protocol between GPU owners and developers and users on their side. The main thing which Gonka have to prove is that developers and users can have the same seamless experience which they have when they use centralized services. And we believe that through the time we'll see a lot of events when people will feel what it means when they actually disconnected from the access to the models, barred from the access to these models. And every event like that will bring more people in decentralization and will bring more people to Gonka.
결국 편리성을 강화하는 게 중요하다라고 언급해 주셨습니다. 그렇다면 마지막으로 또 한국의 크립토 웹3 커뮤니티에 전하고 싶은 말씀 있으시면은 자유롭게 나눠주세요.
Current moment in the history of humanity is pretty crucial. We have maybe 1, 2, 3 years before the AI infrastructure will be inevitably centralized by a handful of corporations in the United States and in China. Yet, today, we still have a chance to build this infrastructure completely decentralized, owned and publicly accessible by all of us. If you're using AI right now, you can use closed frontier models and pay them money for them to build their infrastructure, the infrastructure which they will use to control us and control who have access and then replace us with our jobs in the future. The very nature of openness and permissionless and open source of this network will inevitably drive the cost of AI down rather than different tiers of token price, which all of the frontier models discussing today. We can start using the decentralized infrastructure today, paying money towards the building of the decentralized infrastructure, which will be peer-to-peer built by the miners all over the world, for providing us services which we will be able to access at the lowest possible price because of the nature of open market. Whether you have the equipment to mine, or you're a developer, or you're just user of AI, use decentralized AI. This will allow all of us to benefit from the future multi-trillion-dollar market of AI services and AI models.
AI 산업은 점점 더 빠르게 성장하고 있지만 그만큼 인프라와 자원의 집중 문제도 더 선명해지고 있습니다. 블록체인이 이런 구조적 한계를 풀 수 있을지 아니면 또 다른 기대에 머물게 될지는 결국 실제 사용성과 생태계 확장으로 증명돼야 할 텐데요. AI 블록체인이 어디까지 결합할 수 있을지 그리고 그 결합이 진짜 새로운 해법이 될 수 있을지 앞으로 계속 지켜봐야겠습니다. 오늘 저희가 준비한 소식은 여기까지입니다. 코인 인사이트 앞으로도 여러분의 코인 인사이트에 도움을 드릴 수 있도록 노력하겠습니다. 시청해주신 여러분 고맙습니다.